we discussed a bit about why Krishna is speaking so much about modes of nature, and he talks over many chapters. 14th chapter he talks a significant amount. 17th again, and now 18th also Krishna is spending a lot of time on the modes of nature, and we discussed that how it's practically, I think, nearly 20% of the whole Bhagavad Gita, close to 20%, is related to the modes of nature. And he wants to give us he wants us to understand that all the variety we are seeing out here in this material world is being born of these three modes. And Krishna is designing this universe. It's the creation. It's coming from Krishna. But all these modes of variety, that's coming from my tiny free will because I want that. So it's just the three modes and three energies that are creating everything. Species, the environment, and everything, planets, mentality, everything is being created through these three modes. It's when the living entity interacts, that's where everything comes to life. So, and according to these free will, according to the modes, our free will is defined. So the purpose is, and Krishna is the purpose of Krishna bringing out the three modes is he wants us to learn to differentiate that what I am thinking, what I am living, which mode it is in. And Krishna very clearly again and again is telling us mode of goodness is the best. Out of these three modes, mode of goodness is the best. Right? We all, even that's also in a mode. It's a mode, right? Goodness is also a mode of this material nature. So it's not like it's out of this creation. So we'll still in this creation, but while being here, how to make the best of a bad bargain is by being in the mode of goodness. Because when we are in the mode of goodness, we maximize, we are able to do things in the best capacity possible while being within these three modes.
Because I watered it.
Okay. So, yes. So, yes. So that's the reason Krishna keeps talking about these modes of nature. And he keeps pointing out, Premdam, goodness is the best. Try to be in goodness. Right? Otherwise, we will never be able to progress. Everyone in this material world is covered by the three modes. So I was talking to a devotee and a senior devotee, and he was telling me how when we see people doing a lot of hard labor, intellectual labor also. I work in a research center. There are a lot of PhDs, doctors coming, they're working there. And they are in immense passion. We have to make this project a success. And they're thinking about it 24/7. They will send you an email at night and think, oh, I was thinking about this, you should do this and that. And they're overproductive. They think that is the right thing to do, but actually that's an intense level of ignorance. The more we go deeper and deeper into this material world, the more thicker the layer of the mode becomes. And Krishna keeps telling us, please come out of this, come to at least the mode of goodness. Then you'll be able to see what's next, what's beyond this. So Krishna has a strong purpose behind talking about these modes again and again, so that whatever we do in our lives, we are able to identify which mode this is, and then voluntarily, consciously pull ourselves out and live our lives in a way which is conducive for our spiritual growth. Because if not for my spiritual growth, I'm no different than an animal. They also do the same, all their Prabhupada has told us. I'm no different than an animal. And but the moment I start thinking about my spiritual nature, about my spiritual progress, that's what distinguishes me from an animal. And that is only possible when we are in a mode of goodness. And it's not like I am 24/7 in a mode of goodness. No. Ignorance, passion is always there. But I can consciously put myself in a mode of goodness. I can do that. So that's the beauty of the free will that Krishna has given us. And so this book, the Bhagavad Gita, is a very instructional and it's very inspirational book for us. It's not a book about philosophy and supposed to be kept up in the shelf. It has a lot of practical purposes. Everything is practical in this. I was listening to a class by Swayam Bhagwan Keshav Maharaj, and he was saying that how the 11th chapter teaches us how to be confident. That was very interesting the way he presented it. I was very inspired after I heard him. That he says 11th chapter is about finding confidence, right? Because Krishna shows his universal form to Arjun, the past, the present, the future, and Krishna sees that divinity. There's already a plan in this. There's already a plan in this creation, right? Arjuna sees that divinity, Krishna already has a plan. I simply just have to be an instrument. And that's what Krishna tells him, Nimitta Matri Bhava Sabyasachi, in the 11th chapter. So it's a very beautiful way of presenting it. I never looked at it from that perspective, that the 11th chapter teaches us how to find our confidence. Right? Similarly, 12th chapter teaches us about how to have good relationships. Right? There's from the verse, I think 13 till 20, it's all about that. Right? That how to be friendly to people, be nice to them, and be tolerant and so forth. All those kind of things. A lot of self-development comes from Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna, every single word Krishna says has a purpose behind it, and it's very, very practical and applicable. And that's what we are seeing here also, what Krishna is doing by teaching us about the modes of nature. He didn't need to do it. He could, if you remove the modes of nature, you cut a few chapters easily. 3 chapters at least, the big ones. So, but then the purpose is, there's a big purpose behind it. That Krishna just wants us to slowly and steadily, wherever we are, come to the mode of goodness. And then from within, Krishna will guide us, Paramatma. So that's the essence. That's the reason why Krishna is talking so much about it. Okay, so let's come to our verses. 37. Now starts the happiness part.
How did it go?
Hari Bol, Prabhu.
Yeah, so everything you just said, I've been pondering this too. And I know when I first joined that people were saying, that's just the mode of goodness, but they really didn't give it much credit. And so I've always had the stigma, okay, then where's the pure goodness? I mean, where's that piece of the pie that I'm supposed to really savor or put myself into? I mean, like right now, you're encouraging me to be at least in the mode of goodness.
Yes.
But is there is there dictation where I'm spoon-fed pure goodness? Or was that what the answer was you just a second ago when you said Super Soul will do that?
It's automatic, Prabhu. So I'll show you the verse, which I just love that verse, and I might have brought it out here many times. It comes in the 7th canto, 7:14, 38.
Yeah, 7:14 is nice, yes.
7:14, 38, if I remember correctly. I think it's Narad Muni talking to Yudhishthira Maharaj. Yes, so here's I'll share my screen, sorry. So this is the verse. So what Narad Muni is telling him, O King Yudhishthira, the super soul in everybody gives intelligence to the individual soul according to his capacity for understanding. Therefore, the super soul is the chief within the body. The super soul is manifested to the individual soul according to the individual's comparative development of knowledge, austerity, penance, and so on. And Prabhupada goes on and he brings out the 15:15 verse where Krishna says that I give knowledge, intelligence, and forgetfulness. So this is one of my favorite verses. That is just clear, very, very, very practical. All I have to do is I have to develop knowledge, austerity, and penance, right? And once I develop that, the super soul automatically starts interacting with me. It starts giving me more and more knowledge. I was thinking the other day how enthusiastic Prabhupada was after going through so much, coming to this country, living in such harsh conditions for a year before he could establish ISKCON, before he could even get his first disciples. what made a 70-year-old man continue? Where did he get that enthusiasm from? It's the super soul right there. Obviously, Prabhupada being a pure devotee, he's Krishna's direct contact with him. But you look at it, it's a super soul guiding him with such intense faith that Prabhupada could continue irrespective of whether he has the proper shoes, proper dress for the bitter cold winters of New York. He just continued it because now for him being a pure devotee, everything became so crystal clear that he didn't have even an ounce of doubt on anything he was doing. He knew this is what I want to do. This is what I'll continue to do. So that's the level of a pure goodness. That's sattva, Shuddha sattva, where Prabhupada was. And this verse tells me that everybody has that capacity that we can achieve that. However, we have to invest. We have to be, as we have talked many times, be strict, serious, and sincere. And the interesting part is it's comparatively, it's easy to be strict. People can wake up at 3 in the morning, do the chanting, and okay, I can be strict. I can eat twice a day or once a day. I can be strict. We all can be sincere. Okay, that sincere is the next level. So out of the three, strict is the least hardest, I would say. Sincerity is the next one. They say, okay, that's harder. It's hard to be true. But the hardest thing is being serious. So what does serious mean is? Serious means that we are introspective and we invest time, effort, energy. It's not like I'm just reading for the sake of reading. It's something that I want to gain from it. So similarly, when I do my austerities, my penance with seriousness, that no, this has a higher purpose. I will invest my mind in it. I will be more absorbed in what I'm doing. That's where the change happens. So all these things, there are level to it. Sorry, I'm just speaking out, but this is the verse that really kind of helps me hone on to the concept of Shuddha Sattva.
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, what you just elaborated is very important too, just to have a perspective of that development in the higher level also. Because when you start walking, I mean, all of a sudden you know that you're running, and then someone brings it to your attention. Oh yeah, hey, look at you, you're running.
Yes.
But you're already running. You're already going there.
Yes.
Even certain levels. I heard a class yesterday which would blow your mind. It was by Ramapad on the holy name, and about knowing the meaning of the holy name to be more serious and more focused. And that Govinda Gora Goswami.
God Govind Maharaj. Yeah.
No, not Maharaj. Gopal something Maharaj. He wrote a few different books, and he always said, "Hey, don't tell who I am." And then the Rupa Goswami would call him a serious Brahmin, or one of the other Goswamis, but it starts with Gopal something or whatever.
Gopal Bhatt Goswami?
Nope, it's another name. So anyhow,
okay.
This so Maharaj was talking about our appreciation of these other saints and how we develop a real attachment and a real desire to get some energy from them, and so I was hearing that, and I said, oh yeah, because on my bed I have these books of these different saints that I study and I love, and between each round that I chant, I also pray to them, and then I heard that. So it's just like you're saying, but if you have to get some type of, I need a perspective of where I'm going, and what, where's that pure goodness. And so now it's illuminated right here. Yes. And like you said, you have to invest and really, really, and plus there's something that motivates you too. As you get into this, you start getting so pulled and attracted to it, and so many things are highlighted in our existence that and I now I'm realizing, this is not a sprint, okay. I mean, for me it's more like a marathon. I mean, I try to sprint my brains out, but it's still, I mean, the more you know, the less you know.
Mm.
So many, so many feelings that I thought I had. I mean, I even had feelings of a sahajiya a while back because I was just so elated, and I was thinking, and I told Giri Govardhan from Potomac, and I was explaining it to him. He goes, "Oh yeah, it sounds like a sahajiya." But the point is that you get so wrapped up in enthusiasm
Yes. Yeah.
that it's so nice. And but so as I was listening to this, okay, I hear you talking the modes. I hear him. The modes really, like you said, became pronounced to me in this chapter. So
Mm.
then I kept waiting. Okay, take me to the edge of the cliff. Now where do I grab hold? I mean, yeah, okay, I'm in the mode of goodness, but you know, uh, I didn't really feel like I had captured it, but I was realizing, well, okay, I'm just going to try to stay in the mode of goodness. I mean, he tries to explain each thing, and so you can see where you're at. I mean, you look at me, like you were saying, we have to analyze where we are. When you said that, I said, you know what? I know perfect mode of passion. My car is the mode of passion. How have my car is just has everything and never organized. It's the mode of passion because I'm just so. And so then I was thinking, well, I should straighten that out.
Yeah.
Everything I should just try to be more in the mode of goodness in all actions, you know,
Yes.
with the
Our,
proper desire, correct?
yes, with the proper desire. And you said you used a very good word, absorption. All our progress happens at a point of absorption, and that's what I was referring to when I said seriousness. So it's a levels, right? So it's comparatively easier to be strict. Harder than being strict is being sincere. But then harder stuff is being serious. Serious means you have to absorb yourself in everything. When I do Aarti every morning, many a times my mind is flying somewhere else. But that's not the proper way. I'm not serious about what I'm doing. So I have to be consciously serious about my Aarti, that okay, I'm glorifying Krishna, I'm glorifying my Guru here, I have deities at my altar. So then that's absorption. And that's where the progress happens, in absorption. I can be strict and sincere, that's very good. Krishna really appreciates that. The progress, most of the progress happens when I become also absorbed in what I'm doing, being questioning it, right? Why am I doing this? Why is Krishna saying this? Why is Prabhupada saying this? Connecting them, connecting all the dots when we read Prabhupada's books. Oh yeah, Prabhupada said this in this book, and then he's saying this here. When we start connecting, that's where the relishment comes from. That's why we relish it so much. You were saying that, yes, the more when you read, you kind of get so absorbed. It's because you're relishing it. So it's something transcendental, and sometimes we get to touch that here and there, might be for a minute or so. But pure devotees live in it 24/7, and that's where they get their enthusiasm and determination and so forth from. Yeah, thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get going. Where was I? Yes. So 37, that which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like the nectar. That's like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happy. Sorry, excuse me. In the mode of goodness. Yeah. So it's now Krishna talking about the three different goodness in the three different modes, right? And I think we might have referred to this. There's a word, yeah, prasadajam. So it's born of satisfaction. I think this was something I think we touched last time, might be briefly, but so when Prabhupada translates the phrase prasadajam, he says born of satisfaction. When he puts it in the translation, he says awakens one to satisfaction. So so what Krishna is saying is that uh, when one practices spiritual life, uh, one moves from material to spiritual, and then when one starts delighting at a spiritual level. And as we were discussing, that to the extent one is delighted, one is more and more situated at that spiritual level, right? So it's a constant progression. That's something I got involved in some spiritual activity, and then I found it delightful, and then I move on to the next one. I keep doing more and more of it, right? And so we continue to increasingly be spiritually inclined, right? And then my intelligence becomes spiritually situated. Then it's Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. That's the phrase that Krishna is using. Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. So Atma in the self, Buddhi is intelligence, Prasadajam satisfaction, right? So we get more and more situated in that satisfaction of being on a spiritual level, right? And uh, initially, it always looks hard. Even Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, he says that, right? That Sayat Krishna Namadi Sitapya Vidya Pittopatapna Rasanasya Na Rochikan. Pittopatapna means it's very bitter in taste. And the analogy that Rupa Goswami gives is that when somebody has jaundice, sugarcane juice, which is supposedly very, very sweet, it tastes very bitter to that person. So it is very bitter to that person. But just that's because of my conditioning. But the more and more I drink it, the more and more I get cured of that jaundice. Then the thing starts tasting very bitter for me. So the progression happens if I continue taking that medicine. So sometimes the practices might seem hard initially, but then as we keep moving forward, I start getting relishment, nourishment from them, and then the progression automatically happens, right? And was there and it's something that we all can realize how we are moving forward. There's a verse in the 11th canto. What's that? I'm forgetting it. Tushti pushti shudape anughasham. Pushti pushti. I wanted to show you that verse where we can clearly see the progression in ourselves. Nobody has to tell us that. I'll find that verse and just pull it up in 1 minute. Pushti pushti. Anybody knows that verse? Tushti pushti. I'm forgetting the first line. Okay, I'll find it. Where is that verse? Okay, here it is. This is the one. Let's see. That's right. Okay, I can't find it right now. Oh, this might be the one. Okay, let me see. This is the one. 11 to 42. This is the one I'm referring to. Pushti pushti shudape anughasham. Yeah, this is the verse. Yes, I found it. Okay, I'll just show you what it is. So it's 11th canto, second chapter, verse number 40. Bhakti parishanu bhava virakti anyatra chai shatrika ek kala prapadyamanasya yathasatha siyus tushti pushti shudhapi anughasham. Devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. So it's not like somebody's going to come and tell us that, oh, okay, you're full now, don't eat anymore. No, I would know it automatically. So similarly in bhakti, as we progress, we can see that we are getting nourished. We are getting detached from other things. There is virakti happening. And simultaneously, my devotion towards Krishna is increasing. and a direct experience of the Supreme Lord. That's the beautiful thing. Direct experience of the Supreme Lord happens, right? And so Prabhupada's disciples, they were, the purport is by Prabhupada disciples, not Prabhupada. And so yes, so this is the beauty of the process. Even though initially it looks hard, okay, you're hungry and you're just feeling very uncomfortable, and suddenly food comes, so you start taking it. It's not like initially immediately you start feeling satisfied, but no, as you keep eating, with every morsel you eat, we get nourished, we get relief from hunger, and then pleasure also. Three things happen simultaneously. So similarly, bhakti, paresha anubhava, virakti. These three things happen when we continue to do bhakti. So that's the essence of this verse that we are reading. That how initially it might seem a bit not that not that fulfilling, but later on it becomes very nourishing, and then we get attached to it. That's the beautiful thing, right? So okay, so we should be looking for the parinam. So what's the outcome? Parinam. That's the word Krishna is using, right? Uh, so initially we start with service. Service might seem we might seem it's discomforting. It's not very comfortable. We have to sometimes pull ourselves out of comfort zone. But then the nourishment we get in exchange for that is priceless. As Prabhupada is also highlighting this, that in the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and senses and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following the rules, but the regulations, and comes to the transcendental position, he begins to drink a real nectar and he enjoys life. That's the beauty of the process. So initially it looks hard. So initially we perform bhakti by using our intelligence. We kind of consciously, intelligently make decisions. Our mind might pull us in a different direction. We keep saying, no, we're not going to do this, we're going to do that. Initially it's hard, but then eventually uh, the mind becomes under control. Intelligence becomes the parent in the room, and then we are able to live a life of real nectar, drink real nectar, and enjoy life. Next one, that happiness which is derived from the contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be the nature of passion, right? So when there's a contact between sense and sense objects, that's a mode of passion. Uh, Krishna has said this in the 14th chapter, that misery is entrapment in life and death. So so the practice of dharma gives us the realization and enables us to enjoy happiness. So something that initially might seem very interesting, like nectar, but later on it becomes poison, is in a mode of passion. Krishna says this in the 5th chapter, right? Yehi samsparsaja bhoga dukkha yonaya evate adi antavanta konteya na teshu ramate buddha. That yehi samsparsaja bhoga. Sparsha means touching. Bhoga. Dukkha yoneya. So when my senses come in contact with sense objects, a child is born. What's in it? Dukhi. Dukh comes in my life. It's a dukkha, yoneya. That's why it's called yoni. So yoni, womb. So it's a dukkha. A child named Dukhi is born whenever my senses come in contact with these sense objects. So dukkha yone adi antavanta konte. So na teshu ramate buddha. Buddha is an intelligent person. Knowing that these pleasures have a beginning and an end, intelligent people don't engage in them. Right? So uh, so that's the here. So initially it might give us some pleasure, but later on it becomes a source of misery. Yeah. Um, now somebody can ask us that, you know, that why is it so Why is it so easy to get attracted to sense objects, right? So if Krishna has designed this world for me to purify myself and go back, why is it that why is these sense objects so attractive, right? So it's all because of our own desires, all because of our past actions, right? For an alcoholic, to take alcohol is easy and very hard to give up. But for others, giving up is not that hard, right? Difference is how we have acted in the past, right? We all exist on the material platform, material level of reality, because we have a desire to enjoy material things. That's the reason we are here. That's the reason we are getting attracted to sense objects, right? So uh, it's like life is like a multiple choice question, an exam with multiple choice questions, right? So it's the the choices that are being given in this multiple choice question, they're not random. They're not like just, oh yeah, any choice has been given. No, the choices is based on what I have studied in the past. That's what the basis of those choices are. And the purpose of Krishna giving us this multiple choice question is so that I can continuously pick the right one, and my faith in the right answer keeps strengthening every time. You all at some point might have given adaptive exams, right? Uh, where if you answer one question, then the next one is harder than that, and so forth. So there's an adaptation. So the purpose of us giving a multiple choice question, Krishna, is he wants us to adapt to the right answer and become familiar with it, make it a part of our lives. Mad Mad chitta mad gata prana bodhyantasya parasparam. 10th chapter 8th verse, Krishna says that. Mad chitta mad gata prana. That the pure devotee starts living in me. So he's always thinking about it. So when you repeatedly tell yourself that, oh, this is my goal, this is my goal, then automatically your senses, your mind gets tuned to being in Krishna's service. And sometimes even people can ask us that, you know, uh, when Krishna is so loving, why is it so difficult? Why is loving him so difficult? Right? It's difficult because when we, how to say it? So love is tested through difficulty. Right? In bhakti, what happens is that world offers us alternatives to Krishna. That then, not Krishna, use take this, take that, right? Uh, the whole world will tell us that we can have other objects of love that can provide happiness other than Krishna. And to the extent we get caught in those alternatives, our bhakti suffers, and loving Krishna becomes difficult for us. So there's a strong, me, what I do it has a major impact on what my relationship with Krishna is. Okay. Let's look at the next one. And that happiness which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. Right? So in beginning and end. So earlier goodness was, in the beginning it was hard. It was like poison. In the second one, in passion, in the beginning it's like nectar, but later on it becomes poison. But in tamas, in the beginning as well as in the end, it's misery. So ignorance is when happiness is in ignorance, it deludes us. It deludes the soul. So the material world itself is a place of ignorance. That's why we always sing, right? Tamso ma jyotirgamaya. If you have gone to, all those who have gone to school in India, we would sing this prayer in the morning. Or I know I studied in a Kendriya Vidyalaya, and the logo of Kendriya Vidyalaya had this Tamso ma jyotirgamaya. Right. So so there are degrees. These are degrees, right? In passion, there is some incorrect perception. In ignorance, there is completely incorrect perception. Right? So let's say we are on a road, we are going somewhere, and you could be distracted by, let's say, 5 degrees, 10 degrees, 50 degrees from your road. So the degree of wrongness also matters. So, so the degree is important. So it's not like we're not in ignorance, or yeah, the ignorance can be there, but it depends how much are we in ignorance. So the degree matters. So we want to look for good things in material life. So in passion, we might be 90 degrees off the track, right? We partially perceive spiritual reality. We look for good things in life. We're not like grossly sensual. But in ignorance, we are 180 degrees off. We don't even perceive material reality. Forget about spiritual reality. So that's a situation where we are in deep trouble. Like it's so hard. It's so hard for us to perceive that is so obvious in ignorance. That's the problem with ignorance. We just can't even perceive anything. You know, you all have heard of Sherlock Holmes. You all must have heard of Sherlock Holmes, right? The famous, he's a detective, and his aide, his friend is Watson, Dr. Watson. So one day they both go for camping, and they're laying in the campsite, and Sherlock Holmes asks Watson, "What do you see, Watson?" And he says, "Oh, I see these stars, I see these constellations." Okay, and Sherlock Holmes says, "What else do you see, Watson?" And he says, "Oh, I see these clouds gathering. We might be having rain soon." He says, "Okay, what else do you see, Watson?" Yeah, and Watson keeps telling him things, you know. And then Watson asks Sherlock Holmes, what do you see, oh, Sherlock Holmes?" Sherlock Holmes says that, "I see that somebody has stolen our tent." So it's just a matter of perception that we cannot even see something that is so obvious in front of our eyes. That's the state of ignorance we are in. Yeah. And there's a word Krishna is using: sleep, laziness, and illusion here. So when one sleeps for the pleasure of sleeping, not just as a biological function, but more like an escape from problems of life, that is in ignorance. Right? So if we start delighting in sleep, then we can't get anywhere in life. We don't do anything constructive. So that's the problem with ignorance. Uh, in um, so in ignorance, we are ignorance keeps away from both material and spiritual. Ignorance, right? We're not facing life, we're more like escaping life. In passion, we are trying to control life. In goodness, we try to tolerate life. It's only in Shuddha Sattva, transcendental goodness, where we try to move towards spiritual life. There is an actual positive movement. So uh, the more we become materially infatuated, more we become spiritually deadened. We become dead spiritually. And the more we are incapable of appreciating the spiritual dimension of life. That's the extent of it. And there are abundance of people you can see out there in the world that exemplify this mode. Okay, I'll take a pause here. Any thoughts or comments or questions? Anybody has anything? Because after this, Krishna is going to change gears and he's going to start talking about the four varnas. He's going to talk about them, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Okay, any thoughts from anyone? Okay, we can move on then. This is verse number 40. There is no being existing either here or among the demigods in the higher planetary systems which is freed from these three modes born of material nature. So it's interesting that how Nadadasti Prithvim va Divi Dveshu Vapuna Deveshu. So Krishna is even bringing demigods here into the picture, right? Uh, I'm reading the 8th canto of Bhagavatam, where the demons and demigods are going to churn the ocean. And before the churning happens, what do the demigods do? They go and pray to Vishnu. They're asking for material things. So that's in the mode of in one of the modes, right? They're in the mode of material mode. Okay? So what the reason Krishna is bringing out this verse is that he's feeling that, oh, Krishna might be feeling that, oh my God, I'm stuck in this material nature. He might be feeling a bit left out. So Krishna is trying to cheer him up by saying that, hey, don't worry, it's not you alone. Everyone is going through this. It gives us pleasure that to think that others are also suffering like us. So just like, which movie, there was a Hindi movie, right? Three Idiots, where they say that if your friend fails, if your friend fails an exam, you feel sad. But if you fail and your friend tops the exam, comes out best, then you are actually more sad. So it's a um, so if you are left alone, so even no, we all are in together. Then it's not that much of a sorrow. It gives us some pleasure to see others suffering, right? So at present state of existence, no one is beyond the modes. But if there is a process which, if followed, one can transcend these modes. And so throughout the 14th chapter of 70, we saw that modes were being talked about. Towards the end of the 14th chapter, Krishna says that Mam chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samatitaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Right? So Mam chayo vicharena bhakti yogena sevate. The 14th, I think it's the second last verse of the 14th chapter. That's the only place where Krishna uses the phrase bhakti yoga. And so there is we get purification by being in a mode of goodness. There's this so this verse, this one that Krishna is speaking, is kind of launching the concept of doing our duty. So anybody can be affected by this material nature. Everybody is going through it. Nobody is free from the danger of the epidemic, right? Everybody needs a vaccine, and if everybody takes that vaccine, they're protected. Right? So Krishna is saying, if you follow this process of dharma, uh, then we can rise to the higher level of consciousness. And we all have that capability. That's the beauty of it. Right? So this verse is asking us to move away from self-disparaging morose behavior. Like there's so many times I've seen people who become very morose. Oh my God, I fell down again. I did something that was not supposed to be done. I fell from the scriptural standards yet again. What should I do now? Oh my, and they fall into a mentality of a victim, right? So, and what we do is sometimes we live in denial that we hide our failures from others and even ourselves. And sometimes we are dismissive of it. We reject the scriptural standards. Oh, they're impractical. I can't follow them. Right? Either way, we pretend as if nothing has happened. So, but if we conceal our shortcomings, it's like a wound that is festering under clothes, good kind of good-looking clothes. So, the easiest way to change the situation is just ask, what is the lesson for me from this? And then just keep moving forward. Everybody is going through the same problem. It's not like you alone are suffering or you alone are in a mode of ignorance or passion. Everybody is going through the same thing. But then, even from this, everybody, we see people who have transcended it. So we all have that capacity to do that. And that should give us a lot of enthusiasm and motivation. So, at the core, we always remain an untainted soul with the potential for purity. So we just become determined to remove the infection that we have by all means. We consult others, senior devotees, guides, and we make very systematic, sustained remembrance of Krishna. And slowly and steadily, we are able to uproot the cause of our moral lapses. So this is the purpose why Krishna is bringing it here. And then he'll talk about dharma. So he'll say, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are distinguished by the qualities born of their own natures in accordance with the material modes, O chastiser of the enemy. Right? So Krishna is giving a prelude to description of qualities and occupations in terms of the three modes. In this last verse, he said that no one in the three world is free from these three modes. And so the question comes that if everybody is bound, then there should be a way, a proper arrangement for elevation, right? We have talked about how Bhagavad Gita gives us a very friendly, customizable spirituality. Whether we know it or not, our heart is longing for Krishna. We are looking for him through his manifestations. Right? So we all have a nature and we serve accordingly. A path is provided to us from wherever I am, right? If you're going somewhere, if I'm taking a bus, I have to walk up to the bus stand. But an Uber comes to our house. So depending on what my nature is, what my position is, no, I might have to do a different amount of work. So we have to work in a way that elevates us. So Arjun is told to act according to his Kshatriya nature. So particular duties Arjun will do will be according to his nature. But purpose for which he will do is spiritual understanding of life. Then there is a harmonious balance of spiritual and material. Okay, so Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Shudra. Okay, so let's go to the next one, 42. So the qualities of Brahmana: peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Yeah. Qualities that we are born with, the Brahmanas are born with. Peacefulness, not being agitated. Self-control. Even if agitated, senses don't act. Cleanliness. The reason cleanliness is put here because Krishna is highlighting the fact that a cluttered situation externally leads to a cluttered mind. So that's the reason cleanliness is important. So then such a person cultivates knowledge and its realization. So the person is inclined towards some pursuit towards higher realization. But Brahmins are accepted to be tolerant. So now somebody can ask that, okay, Brahmanas are being talked about. Why is there no reference of bhakti here? Can somebody think about it? Why is there no reference of bhakti here? Any thoughts from anyone? Somebody can ask you that, okay, yeah, no, Krishna is talking about a Brahmana. So why is not there bhakti mentioned here? It's a question for everyone. Tell me what you think. Give it a try. There are no wrong answers.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, and these are the qualities like a prerequisite for bhakti?
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, that's a good point you bring up. Yeah, prerequisite to bhakti. Yeah. What else? What else? Can you think? Okay, let me rephrase this question another way. Can you think of a Brahmana in Bhagavatam who's not situated in bhakti? Think of a Brahmana, a very famous pastime in one of the avatars of Krishna. In that episode, there is a Brahmana who's not in bhakti. There's another, actually, now that I think of, there is another episode in Krishna's pastimes in Bhagavatam of Brahmanas who are not in bhakti, but somebody very close to them, despite not being a Brahmana, is in intense bhakti. Come on, this is a very good, easy clues. You should know about it.
I think in Krishna's book that was the Brahmanas who were following the
Sacrifices.
ritualistic processes.
Yeah.
Yes, Yajnik Brahmanas. Yes, the Yajnik Brahmanas, they were so focused on doing the Brahmanic procedures. What were they doing? Let's see now. Look at these. They were austere. They were extremely austere. They were sitting in the middle of the forest doing yagyas, chanting mantras. They had knowledge, right? But then when Krishna's friends came, they said they didn't even they didn't even see those kids when they were saying, Krishna's friends, they came over, Krishna and Balram are hungry. They didn't even look at those kids. But the moment they told the wives, they left everything and just ran with everything they had cooked for Krishna. So they were Brahmanas, but they didn't have bhakti. So the other example comes from who was that? Shukracharya. Okay, that's the one I was referring to earlier. So Shukracharya. Uh, so my question was that bhakti is not mentioned here because uh, Brahmana is not necessarily the highest value. It's not. It's a higher level in the society. But Mahaprabhu has told us that a Vaishnava is even superior than a Brahman, right? Why? Because Vaishnava has bhakti in his heart, his or her heart. So these are not the highest qualities. Okay. Shukracharya asked Bali Maharaj to not give charity, right? But then it was not like as if Shukracharya was punished. No, it's not that Brahmanas have to be situated in bhakti. Yeah. So that's something to understand there. So if somebody says a Brahmana, we should not immediately equate Brahmana to a devotee. Yeah, yes, Brahmana is respectable, a member of the society. We pay our obeisance and everything, but then it's not necessarily they'll be situated in bhakti. So um, and in the seventh canto, there is this verse which just says that comes in the, I think it's Prahlad Maharaj speaking, but he says that if a Brahmana has all the Brahmanical qualifications, but is not a devotee, and sometimes he might even be averse to the Lord, right? Like we saw Sukracharya. He's worse than a dog eater who has dedicated everything to the Supreme Lord. There's that story, right? That there is this Brahmana in the temple who's doing all the proper procedures for many years, and Narad Muni comes and he asks Narad Muni that can you please ask, if you go to Vaikuntha, can you please ask Vishnu that when will I be liberated of this material world? And then Narad Muni walks further and there's a cobbler, and the cobbler asks the same question to Narad Muni. So Narad Muni goes back to Vaikuntha and asks Vishnu, and Vishnu says, "Oh, the cobbler will be liberated within this life, but the Brahmana has to still live 1,000 lives." So when Narad Muni comes back and says this to the Brahmana doesn't have faith on Vishnu or Narad. He says, "Oh, you're just fooling me. You never saw Vishnu." So, but then when he says this to the cobbler, sorry, no, sorry, I missed a part there. Vishnu says that you go and tell them that, okay, Brahmana 1,000 years, 1,000 lifetimes, but cobbler this lifetime itself. And then if they ask you what I was doing, you just tell them that I was trying to push an elephant through the eye of the needle. So when Narad Muni tells this to the Brahmana says, "Oh, you are fooling me. How can somebody push an elephant through a needle?" But the cobbler immediately accepts it. So even though cobbler was a low member of the society, but he has faith for Krishna and he has dedication towards Krishna, so he becomes immediately better than the Brahmana. Okay? So that's why Mahaprabhu says, right, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya, that I think it comes in the 13th chapter, Naham Vipro, na sa Narapati, na pi Vaishya, na Shudra, Naham Varni, na cha Grahapati, na Vanasto Yatirva, Kintu Prodyan Nikhalan, Kintu Prodyan Nikhalan, Paramananda. Okay, I'm forgetting the verse, sorry. Okay, but then, so what he's saying that I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, I'm not a Shudra, I'm nobody. I'm not a Brahmachari, I'm not in the Varna and Ashram system. I just consider myself as Gopi Bhartur Padakabalayo Das Das and Das. I'm a servant of the lotus feet of Krishna. So that's a devotee. So he's far more superior. Okay, so I talked a bit about this verse. This is a good one. Then what is the qualification of a Kshatriya? Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. A nice, some good list of them. So Kshatriyas need to protect, right? So different people have different stimulation. So Shaurya is chivalry, heroism. So heroism is, people protects people within dharma. They have power, determination. So determination, again, we read it earlier, it could be in many different modes, but here the thrust is to getting things done. Kshatriyas need to get things done. So primarily, the Brahmanas deal with ideas. Kshatriyas deal with human beings. Vaishyas deal with animals, and Shudras deal with material things. Right? Not necessarily a watertight division, but that's kind of the understanding. So somebody has to act as a ruler. Prabhupada was not very, very favorable about democracy. Yeah, if a king who's upright, who's following dharma, who could run the country much better. Right? And heroism is good when it is in sync with the Lord's plan. And Hanuman is an example. Then there's where's that word? Courage in battle. So this is Apalayanam. Where's that saying? Krishna Prabhupada says. Yes. Apalayanam means not fleeing. So Apalayanam means that not running away from war. They either die or win in the war. And that's what Krishna says to Arjun right in the beginning of the second chapter, right? Hato va prapshasi swargam, jitva va bhokshase mahim. Tasmaduttishta Kaunteya, Yuddhaya Kirta Nishya. That either you die in the battlefield or you win, you're going to go to the heavenly planets. Right? And then generosity is a good quality here being mentioned. So it's a godly quality, right? Dana. So Danam. So charity, Prabhupada is translating it here as generosity. But it's given in all the chapters, right? 16, 17, everywhere there. Okay. Then come the next one. Krishi Goraksha Vanijyam. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas. And for the Shudras, there is labor and service to others. Yeah. So agriculture and cow protection, trade and businesses, they are the qualities of Vaishyas. So in some versions of Bhagavad Gita, this phrase is called Gauraksha. What is that? Krishi Gauraksha. So some people translate Gauraksha as cattle rearing. Yeah, going back to the concept that why Prabhupada called it as it is, because he didn't change any single word. But people, there are many versions, some versions of Bhagavad Gita that say it as cattle rearing. No. Rearing is different than protection. You can rear somebody for use later on, that you might have some personal need from that, or you might going to use it later. Right? But protection means you're protecting that person. There's no ulterior motive. You're not going to use them for something later on. That's why Prabhupada translated as cow protection. Rearing is like cattle rearing means, oh yeah, fine. As long as the cow is giving milk, it's okay. Otherwise, then you go send her to the slaughterhouse. Right? So Krishna loves cows, therefore we love cows. Even from a social perspective, an agriculture-based society is more organic and productive. Environment is better protected with such attitudes. Financially, it's also beneficial. Yeah. So, and it's not just that we love cows because they give milk. No, even buffaloes give milk. So Krishna is Gopal. So we love cows because Krishna loves cows. And cows by themselves are amazing. Yeah. No machine ever created by human being can take in grass and give such high nutritious milk. No, it's only a cow that does it. Yep. Okay. So this is Gauraksha Vanijyam. And Shudras, there is labor and service to others. Okay. 45. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. Right? Okay. So how can we work in a way we can attain perfection? How can all this be spiritualized? So Krishna is saying, Swe Swe Karmani Abhirata. See? Swe Swe Karmani Abhirata. So by doing your duties according to your guna and karma, by doing one's own karma, human beings can attain perfection. Right? So this is kind of a flow verse. It's going to indicate what Krishna is going to speak in the future. Arjun was concern was in the beginning was that he didn't want to get sinful reaction, and he wanted to know the right course of action. So Krishna is saying right course is the action that will lead to elevation, liberation, and perfection. And so samsiddhim, perfection. Yeah, the word is perfection. Samyak, siddhi. Sam is complete perfection. So we say samkirtan. So that's a complete. It's the whole thing package. Right? In the first canto, second chapter, also Krishna, Sukadeva Goswami uses the word samsiddhi. Atha pumbir duja shrestha varnashram vibhagasha sanusthishtasya dharmasya samsiddhim haritoshanam. So, and then Krishna uses similar phrases with it. Swe swe, own, swa karma, your own karma. So he's using a same kind of a phrase twice in the same verse. So it's an assertion that he's stressing on it. Do your work, do your duty. So important part is that Bhagavad Gita is not asking us to reject the word. It's asking us to redirect ourselves. We can do all we are doing with a proper consciousness. Everyone is meant to serve Krishna. So focus is not on birth, but qualities. And we can serve Krishna according to our qualities. Yeah. And here Krishna says clearly, by worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work. So, prescription of how one can attain perfection by doing work. So, with your work, worship that supreme being. Krishna is not saying work is worship. He is saying worship the Lord with your work. So and he's saying by worship of the Lord. He's not saying by worshipping me. He's not saying that because he's not directly talking about bhakti yoga. So Krishna doesn't prefer to associate himself with anything other than bhakti yoga. So he's not bringing the mam concept yet. He's talking in third person. But he has many times told in the past, right, that he's the source of everything.
Haribol,
Prabhu?
Something sort of confuses me is, okay, so he does his job real well. But I don't understand. It says, what good is it if he does a man's job perfect? What good is it? Does another man's job perfect? How the heck do I know if I'm doing another man's job's perfect, or if the job that I'm doing is perfect? Who's to say it's the other man's? What is that? What is that line of
doing other man's job? I didn't get your question.
What does it say? I mean,
by worship of the Lord, who is the source of all beings and who is all pervading, a man can attain perfection through performing his own work.
So that makes sense to me. But where, remember, there's something in the Gita or somewhere it says, man performs another jobs perfectly. You know, that thing where it says, but
yeah, it's the next verse probably.
Oh, is it? Okay. So what is this? What is this?
Is it next verse or is it the following?
But you know what I'm saying then. Okay.
Yes, the second one. It says, it is better to engage in one's own occupation, even though one may perform it imperfectly, than to accept another's occupation and perform it perfectly. Duties prescribed according to one's nature are never affected by sinful reaction. That's the next verse probably that you're referring to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is that breakdown? Who's to say what your nature is? Where does that come? I mean, he just defines 3 classes of individuals, even a sutra. And so, and if I analyze myself, I'm just a Sudra. So, but I could do a lot of other things. But to stay just as a servant and a person that just works to support the other people in their capacity, and I get paid for it because I can still have the consciousness of Krishna. That's fine. But what is that defines you? Your nature. What is it that who says that you're a Brahmin, you're this, you're that, you're that? I mean, what makes that up? I mean, when people are raised in high school and they go to college, they don't even know what their physiological or psychological makeup. They want to do one thing and then they turn out doing something else, and they really don't understand their nature. Where is that advice that one can say, well, you're this, you're that, you're this, you're that? I mean, where is that grouping, or where is that understanding? What is your nature?
So how you're asking me how do I know what is my nature?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the way I realize it, Prabhu, is that our nature, if you ask me what is my duty, let's say if you're asking me that, so if the bigger purpose is the purpose of prescribed duty in Varnashram is to make our material life as harmonious as possible for our spiritual growth. Okay, so if you're doing something that leads to disharmony between your spiritual and material life, that's technically not our Varna. So it's something we feel good when we are doing it, and something that we are good at doing, and we observe, we gravitate towards. Like, for example, even you might see, right, so many people, they're artists. Some people like to sing, some people like to play music, some people are teachers, some people are, they're in a mode of passion, they like to run businesses, they're businessmen, they're very good in business. So by observation, by introspection, and also by association, we can learn about ourselves. But then the essence is that, how can I make my life very harmonious for my spiritual growth? So I live a life, I do a job that makes my life as harmonious as possible for bhakti. That is the way to rightly understand what my nature is. Because the Varnashrama system is not like perfect, it's not in bhakti. The Varnashrama system, it just provides a social structure for spiritual advancement. So it becomes very easy to practice spirituality if I'm living in this social structure that Krishna is giving us. So by being in this Varnashrama system, I provide myself with material needs in the least complicated and most harmonious way. Like for example, doctors, right? So if a doctor is competent, but if he steals organs, it's a poor character. So he's got the guna, he's got the quality, but he does no. So he's got the karma. So he has the competence to do something, but his guna is not there. So it's not guna karma. So he's not in the right varna there. So that's why Krishna has to put people in these different varnas. So, but it's not
What was that again about the doctor?
So I said, so guna, these varnas have been decided on guna and karma. Krishna says this in the 4th chapter, it's in the 13th verse. Chaturvarnya maya shrishtham guna karma vibhagaya. I have created the 4 divisions in the society according to guna and karma. Guna is character, and karma is competence. Right? So the example I was giving of a doctor is, a doctor can be competent. He might know how to be a doctor. But if he starts, let's say somebody comes for a surgery and he starts stealing organs, then he has a poor character. So his guna is not there. So he's in the wrong ashram. Right? So that's the example I was giving.
Oh, okay,
So,
okay.
so that's why it's necessary for us to understand that we are doing things that we feel good doing. My heart is in it. I really feel good doing them. And then we are good at doing it, so it doesn't require an extra effort on my part. I might have given this example in the past. I loved biology from school days, probably from 7th, 8th grade. I just loved biology. It was amazing, and maths was a nightmare for me. But if just because there is more money probably in the IT sector, I would have continued to work hard on maths, my life would have been very frustrating. But today I'm happy, or I'll say happy in the sense, comparatively happier, because I just followed what my guna and karma directed me towards. Right? But then another aspect is, as I grow old in bhakti, I've also realized that I have a nature of a teacher. I like to teach. So that's the next level of my varna. I'm still doing things that I'm doing good and I'm comfortable, but I'm becoming more and more spiritual, I would say. I'm kind of getting more and more inclined towards that. But that revelation which came to me has come through my own observation, through my introspection. I have very clearly sat down and thought, okay, Premda, is this service something that you really love doing? Is this the one that you love doing? Where is your heart in? And I realized that where my heart is in. So obviously, observation, introspection is there, association is there. Others can tell you what is your guna and karma, what is your inclination, because others can see us. Our guru can tell us that, that what my inclination is. So it's a mix of many different things, Prabhu. How to understand what my guna and karma, what my prescribed duty is, what is my varnashrama system. So sorry, a long answer, but that's my thought, Prabhu.
Well, all I know is I can make a good sudra, but I haven't really analyzed what level of capacity my intellect can take me.
Yeah.
And I've been competent and capable of on the labor level, even if it's somewhat of a leadership capacity of labor, still. But I was always wondering, well, if I'm doing something perfect, is this my job or?
Yeah. So, but then another important part to understand, Prabhu, is that it's not like this is the final verdict that Krishna is giving us. Okay, he's not saying, oh yeah, do your karma according to your nature, to your varna, and you'll reach me. No. He's not just talking about swadharma, doing your own duty.
There's a lot of needfulness too, right?
Yeah. In 1866, Krishna says, Sardharman parityaja. Give up every dharma. Here Krishna is asking us to do swadharma, but later on he says, give up every dharma. Ekam sharanam varja. You come under my shelter. So the bigger aspect of varnashrama is, how can I psychologically, physically be engaged in this material world for my own purification and ultimately for Krishna's service. So Swadharma, I just wanted to highlight this part that we are reading here. This is not the goal of Bhagavad Gita. Doing karma, Swadharma that Krishna is saying, right? Swakarma. This is not the goal of Bhagavad Gita. This is just there, but it's not the goal of Bhagavad Gita. But in specific context of Arjun, Krishna, the good thing was that his Swadharma and Paradharma were both the same. So Swadharma is, what is your duty towards this body? to this material world, and paradharma is what is your duty towards you as a soul. So we all know what our paradharma is: pure devotional service, right? The first canto, second chapter says, Savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhakti radokshaje ahitukya pratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That the paro dharma for every living entity is to have a uninterrupted and unmotivated service towards Krishna. So that we know. But swadharma can be different for different people. But that swadharma should be in such a way that we can align it harmoniously towards my paradharma. That's the best place to be in. Right? So it's our innate nature. Swadharma is my innate nature, which I learn by introspection and observation. So message of Bhagavad Gita is to do our swadharma and align it with our paradharma. And you can find that out. You can do different things, and you can find out, oh, is this something I want to invest myself in? Be introspective. You can always get the answers. I'll tell you, when I started working after college, my first job was as a salesperson. So I was in sales and marketing. And my God, I hated that job. I left it within the first 6 months. I couldn't do it. It was just beyond me. But there are people who excel in sales and marketing. My own brother is a sales and marketing. He's an MBA in sales and marketing. And he's amazing. So we're born of the same parents, but our swadharma is very different. So that's something comes by introspection and observation, Prabhu. You still there, Prabhu? Did I lose you? You're there. Okay. Okay. Any thoughts? Anybody else? We took a pause here. Detour. So Krishna is saying that one can attain perfection through performing his own work. How does that perfection come? Because we are investing the bare minimum in this material world, because my guna and karma are aligned to my work in this material world. So I don't have to overstress for it. So then automatically all the energy I save, then I can use for bhakti. That's the...
Okay, so now wait a minute now. So if there seems to be any type of confusion of, either of those dharma, what were those words? Swadharma, what was the other word?
Swadharma and paradharma.
If there's any confusion there, if you can just chant the holy name and try to fit in and do something for Krishna's pleasure and still survive.
Yes.
Because sometimes we can get caught up in so much, and there's so much going on around us. We get to, and we don't want to slow down, because the nature of this whole rat race is to, eat, sleep, mate, defend, and get all the stuff that you can. But sooner or later, when we run into the spiritual understanding, then there's a whole different list of priorities and centralization that it changes. But when I see it, if I don't understand what good is to do the perfect job, and that if I don't understand it, I can't break people out of it, whether I'm in it or not. I need to understand this, because this is part of my reason for taking this, is that I can have a more thorough understanding to help those that are trapped. But if I can't see that perspective, how can I, bring you out of it and take you to the next level of, service? Because I know in my heart what I've captured is the real essence of service. But this explanation and this science here, I feel that's part of my responsibility too, is to have an understanding of that, isn't it?
Understanding of what the other person's dharma is?
Or just, what is that? Have understanding of the statement of that perfection and the other perfection,
Yes, we can do that, Prabhu. Yes. And sometimes what happens also, one more thing to understand is, as we see in Prabhupada's life, our guru can change that also for us. Prabhupada sent, 20-some-year-olds to run projects like the Juhu Temple project in India. A huge project. And they did it. They were successful. So a pure devotee can change that also. That's why I was saying, being in a varnashrama system is not a necessity for bhakti. It's something that helps us align in bhakti and helps us progress in bhakti. It's a social structure, but it's not necessary for bhakti. So a spiritual master can do that also. And when you're saying that if somebody is looking up to you for mentorship, yes, it becomes your responsibility to understand what this person's varna is, so that you can help him, you can engage that person in a way that is interesting to that person also, and is also valuable for their progress. So that part. And then in the beginning you said, if I just chant, yes, you can spiritualize your karma, right? We all, it's not that we all will have our we'll know what our swadharma is. No. Yeah, we try to avoid sinful professions, but then some professions might be a bit uncomfortable for me, but I keep doing them. Krishna in a couple of verses later will tell us that how everything is covered by smoke like fire. So there is fault in everything we do. We can spiritualize our karma, as you were saying, by chanting. That's what we're doing. That is why Brahma says, right? Tatyanukampam susamikshamano bhunjane vatra krita vipaka. That, and then in the first verse of the 10th canto, 14th chapter, he says, Sthane sthita shruti gatam tanuvan. Wherever you are, you just stay there and you do your bhakti. Automatically, your karma will be spiritualized. So that also aspect can be done. Yes, Prabhu. So different aspects to the same point. We have to free ourselves from contamination by bhakti. We can transcend it all by serving Krishna. So yes, our karma can be spiritualized, Prabhu. Okay. We'll take a pause here. It's already 8:29.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Quick question.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Yeah, you just mentioned a little while ago that we have to do, what was that? You said that we have to do minimum? I didn't get that. I didn't understand that.
Minimum? I didn't get
Yeah.
you. What do we have to do minimum?
Yeah.
Trying to remember, what do we have to do minimum?
Yeah, you said that right before Sankar Prabhuji asked his question. I was trying to understand what that meant.
I can't think of it right now. What was I saying about minimum?
Okay, no problem.
No, sorry, I can't remember it on top of my mind. Sorry.
If you think about it, you can just
Sure. Yeah, I can think. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Nitai Gauranga. Thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.